Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone to our Thursday afternoon nonprofit expo. So really excited to have you all here with us today. And we have some really great folks from the community who are here to share their missions. So this expo is focused on serving children during the COVID pandemic. So first off, I want to start off with a land acknowledgement. Acknowledging that we are on the unceded ancestral lands of the Duwamish people, the first people of Seattle, and that we honor with gratitude both the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. Just want to make sure that we recognize that today before we get kicked off. So we will have one more expo after this. It will be next Thursday. So thanks for coming to our second to last one here, sticking with us. And so, yeah, today we're really excited to welcome Friends of Youth, Southeast Youth and Family Services, YouthCare, and United Indians of All Tribes Foundation. And so without further ado, I will hand it over. And if you'll help me welcome Joshua with Friends of Youth. Josh, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And thank you for having us join everybody today. Hello, everyone. It's lovely to see your blank screens on Zoom and participate this way. If you have any questions during this presentation, feel free to go ahead and join in the chat feature and let me know. I don't mind stopping mid-presentation to answer those questions. Friends of Youth today, we want to talk about who we are, what we do, some of our COVID response, and talk about our greatest needs. But before I jump into that, I wanted to share a personal story from my childhood when I was a youth and still had gorgeous locks of hair. When I was in first grade is the first time that I rode the bus. And I remember that first time getting on the bus. It was my first time ever getting onto any bus ever. And after school, I just went up to the bus driver and I made sure I was on the right bus. I walked up the steps. And when I was little, I was short, so those steps seemed like they were mountains. And I get in and I'm nervous and I'm scared and I don't know anybody. And so the first seat that I see open, I just jump into it and I sit down. And the girl next to me looks at me and says, this seat is taken. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And I jump up and I start walking down the aisle. And as I see open seats, I begin to ask, can I sit here? Can I sit here? And these kids are saying, no, this seat's taken, or I'm saving the seat for my friend. And it just highlighted that I didn't have a friend who I could sit next to on the bus. And as I got towards the end of the bus, I finally found a bench that had nobody on it. And my little introvert self is so happy. And I'm like, yes, not only did I find a seat, but I don't have to talk to any of these mean people. And I sit down and I look out the window, just hoping that this bus is going to get moving and get me home as soon as possible. And out of nowhere, I hear a voice that says, can I sit here? And I turn and I say, yeah, you can sit here. And this boy turns to me and says, my name's Ronnie. Can I be your friend? And I'm like, yes, Ronnie, you can totally be my friend. And him asking to be my friend and starting that friendship just melted away those fears, took away that anxiety, and really helped make it more enjoyable to be on that bus. And that's what Friends of Youth is to the 700 plus homeless and at-risk youth in King County. We are those people who are easing their fear and being that friend who's helping them along the way and supporting them every step of the way. So that's just the brief. That's who we are as Friends of Youth. We are friends to youth. So if you want to hit that next slide for me, Stephanie. So here's our mission and vision. And essentially what we try to do is help every youth that we can to succeed in life, whether that's supporting them with mental health concerns, substance abuse challenges, or just being that friend. That's what we want to do, is help every youth succeed. And at Friends of Youth, we operate about 24, I think is our latest number, 24 sites across the east side of King County. We're from Everett down to Renton and all the way out to Issaquah. So it's a pretty vast area that we operate in. And you can divide us into about 3 different divisions is what we call ourselves. So we have homeless youth services, youth and family services, and child welfare services. In homeless youth services, we primarily help youth who are ages 7 to 17 or 17 to 24, excuse me. And that's through an overnight shelter where we offer case management, some housing and employment services. We offer meals as well and homework help. Our youth and family services is for people from birth to age 25. And that's primarily out in Issaquah, Snoqualmie Valley, and Riverview in those school districts. And we include mental health, substance abuse, some parenting programs, and prevention programs as well. And then child welfare services is primarily for youth ages 7 to 17, and that's through foster care, extended foster care, and residential treatment services. We also operate an overnight shelter for youth 7 to 17, which is very sad to think that there's a 7-year-old who needs an emergency overnight shelter, but we provide that service. And this division generally works with the Office of Refugee Resettlement. So those are just the 3 divisions there. And the great thing about Friends of Youth is that they're very interconnected. So it's not like a youth can come in and 6 months later when the program is done, we say, hey, thanks so much, see you later, but you can no longer stay. We say, we have another program that can help you transition. And why don't you go to Youth and Family Services and we'll get you connected there. So there's a strong continuum of care for clients in our care to go from service to truly ensure that they have every opportunity to succeed. So first up, let's talk about homeless youth services and dive in a little bit here. And as I mentioned, this is primarily for youth 17 through 24, and we operate Redmond Youth Services Center, which is about 5 minutes from Microsoft's campus. And that's where we have a lot of our different case management programs. And here's just a few of the services we offer: a specialized client service, which helps the survivors of sexual assault and trauma, or those who were involved in commercial and sexual exploitation, and people who are looking to reunite with their families. We offer what we call New Ground Transitional Living Centers, and there's several across the East Side. And they offer safe housing, counseling, and many other options for people to really get back on their feet. And we offer supportive housing as well. Those are just a few of them. We also have outreach programs and participate in the Safe Place program, which I think is widely known throughout King County, where businesses can put up a sticker on their window that says that they are a safe place, and youth who are in danger can go to that business, and they have staff trained who know agencies to call, whether that's a 211 number or a specific agency nearby, to help connect that youth who's in crisis with somebody who can help serve them. And last year, through our drop-in center in Redmond, we helped 227 youth find a safe bed for the night and some shelter, some food, and some other resources that they needed. And I just want to stop here and see if anybody who's participating today has any questions specifically about homeless youth services and what we offer. And don't be shy. Or I could just be so convincing and so informative that there's nothing much to share, which is fine. I'll move on to youth and family services now, our next slide here. As I mentioned, this is for people birth to age 25 in Issaquah, Snoqualmie Valley, and Riverview school districts. And it includes mental health services, substance abuse programs, home visits, and many other programs. One of my favorites is the one that you see in the picture here, just below it. It says Healthy Start. And that's a fun little program that we have where we go visit parents or soon to be parents and help them learn to parent, give them some tools and skills so that, you know, they're not like my parents and yell, and how to help kids really acclimate to the world and acclimate to now your family unit. It's a fantastic program called Healthy Start. We also offer counseling services in the school district. So we do have mental health therapists who are licensed to go in and talk to kids, and substance abuse resources, as well as parenting resources. This is probably the one that's that most touches people's heart. And I just want to be outright and say we don't really take volunteers for like our counseling services, even though many people offer to volunteer for that. We need licensed professionals for that one. But this is just part of what we do for ages birth through 25 out on the East Side. Last year, through these programs, we supported 1,172 youth who were experiencing mental health or substance abuse programs. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our divisions and programs are interconnected. So some of the counseling services offered through our youth and family services also help our homeless youth services, and vice versa. So it's a fun little interconnected piece there. Before we move on to child welfare services, any questions here? Fantastic. That's all right. We'll move on to child welfare services. And here, this division is primarily focused on helping youth impacted by the child welfare system. And a lot of that is for youth ages 7 through 17. And this is primarily done through two different programs here called Griffin Homes and our Therapeutic Foster Care. And our Griffin Homes are residential treatment programs for boys ages 12 through 18, many of which are experiencing mental health or sexual behavioral problems. And so we help them through that. And it's a residential treatment program that includes individual and group therapy. If there's still a relationship with the family and just the family didn't have the resources needed to help their boys who are experiencing these issues, we have family therapy available as well. There's substance abuse support, life skills training, educational services, including an on-site school, and recreation, education management, and case management. So really, we're trying to help these boys who are in foster care or just their families cannot help take care of them, to really help ensure that they have the resources and tools to become active adults who are participating in society and who can be successful. And then we have therapeutic foster care programs as well, where we are helping foster parents to be trained and to support them to help children who need that extra love and attention. So it's similar to the Griffin home, where we're helping these boys and these youth who need extra care, but these are with foster parents already. So we're helping them to ensure that these children reach their goals and can succeed. So that's a little bit about child welfare services. And as I mentioned earlier too, this is the division that works with the Office of Refugee Resettlement here in King County. So any questions there before I jump forward? Fantastic. A little tidbit here too is that last year we housed and helped 69 youth who were in our programs, and we helped them find safe, stable foster homes or other shelter. So we can move on to our next slide here and talk about everybody's favorite topic, COVID response. And I promise I won't use the word pivot. I really promise I won't. So COVID response. Between March 1st and June 30th, we saw 50 new clients enroll in our young adult shelter down in Redmond, which was a 33% increase from the same time frame last year. And this reason is primarily because young people in our age groups of that 17 to 24 are the ones who are hit hardest by the pandemic. They're the hourly workers who were laid off by businesses. They're the late teens who no longer have shopping malls to hang out in and are just hanging out, at the park and need a safe space to be. And they're the families who maybe lost jobs or their finances were hit really hard, who are in need of a little bit of extra help. So that's who we've really seen come through our buildings and our programs throughout COVID. And I will say that our emergency shelters and our drop-in services, our residential facilities have all remained open throughout the pandemic, although they are closed to the public, which sounds contradictory. You're open, but you're closed. I mean that we aren't really taking a lot of volunteer help or assistance in our programs, such as meal services or things like that, because of the pandemic. So we're following state, county, city guidelines in every respect that we can. But we have remained open and we have seen an increased need, as everybody has throughout COVID. Any questions about our COVID response before I jump forward? We've been very fortunate to partner too with a local catering company on the east side, Off the Vine Catering, who's been providing meals every night for our shelter. So that's been a really big help. And we're so thankful for those community partners who are helping. So Stephanie, I think we could jump forward to the next slide. Our greatest need. So currently, as I mentioned, meals at our shelters, that's a great need that we have. And we do have some volunteer groups who will prepare a meal and drop it off. So it'll be contactless delivery, much like your favorite pizza place or Grubhub. We can do that. Or you can donate to provide a meal as well. I think it's the average cost of a meal for the whole shelter one night could be around $200. So those are two ways that we have great needs that you can help with, or just basic needs in general, such as toiletries or clothing and bedding that our youth regularly need. And as the holidays approach, winter gear would really help. So we are trying to find coats for youth and young adults if you want to help us with that. Toys and gifts for foster care children. And we do have a Giving Tree program similar to what a lot of organizations do at this time of year, which you can find some information about that at that website there, friendsofyouth.org/givingtree, where there's a fantastic Amazon wish list that you can help find gifts on and other things like that. But those are currently our greatest needs: meals, basic needs, and some holiday items and cold weather attire. So Stephanie, you can go ahead and go to the next slide, which is just questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to chat them up now or save that fantastic email address for future questions, and I'd be happy to help you with that.
Looks like we don't have any questions in the chat right now, but we do have a very lovely comment from Carrie saying that she loves your programs and has been a longtime supporter, which is awesome. But if anybody does have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and just ask if you like.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carrie, for supporting us. Can I ask what spurs you on to support us?
Yeah, I used to work for a family agency back in Chicago. And so when I moved out here to Seattle, I found you and YouthCare and a couple other groups that do kind of similar work. So I've been giving you guys
Awesome.
little chunks, but I do love the work that you do. And I think one of the questions that I had is, are you getting CARES funding for COVID right now? And is there a concern that, like everybody else who's getting CARES funding, that's going to go away and that's going to, perhaps to the detriment of your services next year? And so you want to, I don't know, get a boost.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a recent hire to the organization. I was hired on in August. So I'm not quite sure about the CARES funding, but what I can say is that a lot of our funding in general has just changed. So our annual event, which every nonprofit hosts, was scheduled for mid-March, which is when everybody started closing things and laying off people. So 4 days before our annual event, we had to cancel it. So we lost $400,000 in funding that we were anticipating for the year. So we've been trying to make that up as we go along. So that has really, just the pandemic in general, as it has impacted everybody, has especially impacted nonprofits who generally have spring fundraisers. So we're all really scrambling right now to meet not only the needs, but also to ensure that we're stable and able to continue meeting those needs in years to come.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys, for your comments. I'm reading them. Jessica, you're fantastic. Thank you so much. And Barbara, very encouraging. If anybody does have questions that come up later, there's my email address. Feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to reach out to you. And check out our social media. There's lots of stories on there. We have a blog as well. So if you want to know more about us, I urge you not to look at our website because it's a little old, but our social media is fantastic. And we have a great marketing coordinator who's got good stories up there. So feel free to check that out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joshua. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, so next we have Southeast Youth and Family Services. And unfortunately, this one's going to go a little bit different. We just got word that there was an unexpected thing that popped up, and so Anthony will not be able to join us today. So I did pop on their website real quick and just grab a little bit of information about them that I'm going to share with you, just so we can make sure to highlight their mission and their work. And then if you have any questions beyond that, you can reach out to them. So anyway, this is their giving program code. And so they also work with children and youth and achieving self-sufficiency, safety, stability, and have a pretty cool origin story. They're based down in Columbia City, and really kind of focusing on mental health, which is just like a really nice focus, especially these days. So this is kind of the broad overview of the work that they do. A lot of community outreach, support for children, family, youth, so kind of early learning, mental health, counseling. I believe they have counselors who speak over 5 different languages, so they really get to connect with a lot of folks that maybe don't have access to other services, which is pretty cool. And then also those social and life skill building classes. And then given the theme of today's expo, I wanted to highlight one of their programs, the Parent-Child Program. Those are some photos from their website of some of the folks that they serve. And so this is part of this network of locally run early learning services where they provide school readiness programs, provide literacy materials, toys, things for children to use to kind of get ready to be geared up and ready to learn and kind of overcome some of those barriers that they might have. And so there's just some more details about that program, and specifically building meaningful relationships with families, supporting parents. This particular program serves children 16 months to 2.5 years. Typically, they do home visits. They've transitioned all of their services to online throughout the pandemic, and this is something that they're actually able to provide for free. So there's so much more that these folks do, and I'm bummed that they can't be here in person to share it with you, but excited for you to just learn a little bit more about who they are and what they do. And I would just highly encourage folks to go check out their website, because there's a lot of really good information out there. If you're interested, I can also share contact information for the individual who was going to speak if you have any more specific questions about the organization or their programs. But they do have a really great, robust website where you can go and grab some of those resources. So I could ask if folks have any questions. However, I'm not sure if I would be able to answer them. But I guess if you do have one, you can go ahead and unmute and ask me real quick, and I would be happy to pass it along. Or okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and then move on to our next presenter. So I believe Erin is here with YouthCare today. Do I have you on the line?
Hi, I'm here.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, and so with that, I will pass it along to Erin from YouthCare.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. And can you all hear me? I've got these headphones in, and so it's always weird. I'm like, I can't hear myself, but can you hear me? Good, cool. Well, my name's Erin Halligan. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the individual giving specialist at YouthCare. We can go to the next slide. I also wanted to start our presentation with an acknowledgement that all of YouthCare's program sites reside on the traditional land of the Duwamish people who have stewarded this land through many generations. And this acknowledgement is meant to be just one step in resisting the erasure of Indigenous histories, and we can all stand in further solidarity with the First Peoples of this land by paying real rent at realrentduwamish.org. And we can go to the next slide. So YouthCare works with young people ages 12 to 24 experiencing or at risk of experiencing homelessness in Seattle and King County. We work primarily with young people who are not accompanied by an adult. Our mission is to end youth homelessness and to ensure that young people are valued for who they are and empowered to achieve their potential. And our work is driven by a vision of a community where no young person experiences homelessness. All young people have the opportunity to thrive, and the systems that oppress them are dismantled. Next slide. Before talking about all of our programming, I just wanted to address why the young people we are working with are experiencing homelessness in the first place. And overwhelmingly, the young people we meet are navigating systems beyond their control. So systems of racism and the histories of colonization, slavery, redlining, and criminalization, homophobia, wealth inequality, and lack of affordable housing, family instability, and chronic underfunding of social systems like foster care, education, and mental health. And we can go to the next slide. In 2019, we served about 1,500 young people at YouthCare. 74% were Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and 27% identified as LGBTQ. Again, kind of reflecting those systems of oppression that I talked about in the last slide. And then the top barriers to stability reported by young people were mental health challenges, involvement in the criminal legal justice system, and interpersonal violence. And then we can move on to our services. So youth homelessness is pretty different from adult homelessness. So all of our services are geared towards young people who are still developing, and young people can access a unique combination of our services to meet their specific and unique needs and goals. So we kind of have 4 buckets of services. Our early intervention and specialized services are meant to be preventative services. So we have case management working in schools and the detention centers, making sure that young people don't have to experience homelessness ever. We also have case managers who work with families to make sure that young people can stay safely housed with family. And then, as Joshua mentioned, we also work with Friends of Youth and the Safe Place program with companies and different sites in the community who will provide crisis support for young people. We also have outreach and engagement centers. So we've got 3 of those in Seattle, and I just want to shout out Southeast Youth and Family Services again. I'm bummed they couldn't be here either, but they've been really incredible partners to us. They very generously welcomed us into their program site like 2 years ago for one of our engagement centers. And unfortunately, due to COVID, we had to move so that we could have ample space, but they're a really great agency and have been an incredible community partner to us. And then we have 2 other sites. One of them's in downtown Seattle, the Orion Center. It's that bright green building that I'm sure everybody's seen. And then our 3rd engagement site is in the U District. We have longer term housing and shelter programs that are meant to give young people an opportunity to stabilize, learn how to basic life skills, and build community with their peers. And then it also gives them a foundation from which they can explore education and employment training. So at YouthCare, we offer GED programming, tutoring, as well as post-secondary support. And then on the employment end, we offer everything from job readiness training to industry-specific trainings and certifications. We can go to the next slide, which is COVID happened. So unfortunately, a lot of our employment and education programs had to come to a pause because just the sites we operate out of were not having the public in. And we also suspended some of our early intervention and specialized services programs. We focused on providing core services of food, shelter, and housing. So just making sure that everybody that we were working with were getting their basic needs met. At all of our engagement sites, which are normally open for drop-in services, we transitioned to a 24/7 shelter-in-place model so that young people would have a space to stay more long-term than they normally would, and so that they could follow Governor Inslee's stay-at-home order. And then staff from education, employment, and prevention programs that weren't able to conduct their business as usual were able to continue case management services from home. And then we're also deployed to programs with extended hours to fill in staffing needs. The biggest challenge, and I think Joshua also alluded to it in your presentation, but is how do we stay open while also staying closed? So navigating that tension between personal freedom and collective safety. So when we were navigating those tensions, we made sure to center 2 priorities, which are providing young people essential life-saving services and then mitigating the risk of exposure for young people, staff, and our community. So we also suspended our volunteer program and stopped accepting a lot of used donations, and focused our efforts on making sure that we could provide, safe and sanitary items to young people. Also at the bottom of the page, I listed all of the different precautions that we've taken. I'm not going to read them all because it's a lot, but you can visit them later on if you want to. And go to the next slide. One of the biggest precautions we're taking is PPE. I'm actually in the office today, so I have my mask, but nobody's in the room. But probably like all of you at the beginning of COVID, it was really difficult to source PPE. And we had a pretty difficult time making sure that we could get everybody. We were making masks out of paper towels for a while. And then some really, incredible people from the community reached out and offered us these beautiful fabric masks that we've been able to reuse throughout this time. We literally couldn't have continued this work without their support. So that was really great. And then on the next slide, one of our biggest areas of change was just our food needs grew substantially due to COVID. So normally the young adults living in our community living programs can come and go as they please. So some young people get lunch or dinner from school or their work, or they'll go out with friends to eat. But under stay-at-home conditions, we had to make sure that these young people could access food and program for all 3 meals. So we created an urgent pantry, and our staff, Holly, on the left, delivers boxes of groceries to each program twice a week. And then young people who are in the community but not living at YouthCare sites have access to our pantry. The photo's on the right there, and they can email Holly with their requests, and Holly will pack up a box of groceries for them to come pick up from our office. I think the next page just has more pictures of our food support from the community. So Holly gets most of our groceries from individual donors, and then a Food Lifeline pickup or a Northwest Harvest pickup. But we've also received a ton of support from different companies and restaurants in the community. Just wanted to shout out Shake Shack in that set picture on the right. They've been giving us 30 burgers twice a week since March, which has been incredible. But they've also hired some young people from our employment program. So they've been a really incredible community partner. Our next slide, this is just a quote from a staff member who noted how important food is to just making things feel comfortable and at home, and especially during some summer celebrations that we had to kind of shift around due to COVID. So on our next slide, we've got some pictures from Pride, which is normally a very festive time at YouthCare. We usually sponsor the parade and have a lot of young people come out. We just couldn't do that this year. So staff wanted to ensure that young people had the opportunity to celebrate even under the stay-at-home order. So the picture on the left is from our Pathways program for under 18 young people, and the picture on the right is from ISIS, which is a home specifically for LGBTQ young adults experiencing homelessness. And then this summer, we also spent a lot of time reflecting on the United States' 400+ year history of institutionalized racism and systemic violence against Black people. Young people this summer attended protests and provided mutual aid to their fellow protesters. So we're really proactive in collecting masks, snacks, water, and toiletries to hand out at events. And YouthCare also celebrated Juneteenth for the very first time ever. It was a virtual celebration, and staff and young people were invited to share stories, art, poems, songs, and just celebrate Blackness. So really this summer we saw young people adapt and change to our environment, and really saw them hone their self-advocacy skills, leverage their rights, and engage in this new society. And then I think the last slide is just, thanks to generous donors and community members, we were able to celebrate Pride and Juneteenth this summer, even under difficult conditions, and recognizing that we're going into another celebratory season. We will be hopefully providing dinner for all of our programs, as well as young people who are living in the community for Thanksgiving. And then we will be having a holiday celebration in December, and are looking to fulfill youth wishes for that. So you can go to youthcare.org/what-we-need-now to learn more about how to make the holiday season special. And then not so much a celebratory thing, but we are moving into our legislative session. So if you want to advocate for young people experiencing homelessness in the political sphere, you can go to youthcare.org/advocacy/take-action. And then I think the last slide is just YouthCare and our giving number. And I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to learn about us, and Friends of Youth and Southeast Family and Youth Services. And I'm excited to hear from United Indians of All Tribes Foundation So thank you so much. And are there any questions? Thank you, Carrie.
I love Carrie's the woo girl here.
Yeah. Yes.
I put the giving code for YouthCare in the chat, but if anybody has any questions, again, feel free to unmute yourselves, and we have time for a couple questions if there are any.
And I can also throw my email in the chat once we move on.
Hi, everyone. I am Jessica Juarez Wagner, and I am the Development Director at United Indians of All Tribes Foundation. And okay, glad y'all can hear me. Thank you. I keep getting this like internet is like slow or internet is unstable, and so I'll go as far as we get is what it seems like today. Maybe I'll turn off my video and it'll work better, but this is my face. Hi, everyone. And I'll turn off my video and hope that it saves a few of those minutes that we can keep talking. Okay, so hi, United Indians of All Tribes Foundation. And next slide. This is a very, very basic slide deck. Sorry, everyone. So a little bit about United Indians of it is technically United Indians of All Tribes Foundation. A lot of times it's United Indians or UIATF. You'll hear me use all of these. We are housed in the Daybreak Star Center, so that is how I knew United Indians before I started working here. I did not even know this existed, and then I started working here and found out these amazing pieces of history. So it was founded in 1970 by our founder and executive director, Bernie Whitebear. He is from Colville, and this was part of the Fort Lawton takeover that happened in 1970. That was part of creating Discovery Park that we all know and love today. So those are the first two bullet points of just it successfully created this space, and we are on a 99-year perpetual lease of these lands and space that are surrounding us at Daybreak Star, but we also have two additional sites. We have a site down in Columbia City, so we're neighbors with some of you on here, and we also have a 24/7 youth home in Crown Hill. And so we're founded in 1970. We have 50 years of programming and being of and by the community, of, by, and for the community. And that's something that I absolutely love, is that every few years we go through like these metamorphoses of what are the programs that would most be helpful to our clients, and how can we best address the needs that are here. So with every opportunity, we're constantly changing to what we see as best fitting for our community and clients. So currently we have 13 different programs. We're going to go through the programs in a hot second. And we serve over 1,000 clients. That number is skyrocketing right now with COVID, but we'll get there too. Traditionally, we welcome more than 10,000 people to our events and celebrations throughout the year. This is including the Seafair Powwow, our gala, and Indigenous Peoples Day, which is in partnership with the City of Seattle. This has all switched, and it has been like some major, major pivots. I know everyone hates that word, and it is basically what we do constantly now. So yeah, that's United Indians in a very small little nutshell. And we'll go on. So yeah, these are our programs, and you can go ahead and list all of them. Perfect. We have some, on the right-hand side, you just see some of our little logos for our different programs. Most have little logos. These are some of my favorites. The preschool is the top one. Our Daybreak Star Doulas is our second, and Our Strong Fathers is that bottom one. And the first 6 programs are all focused in youth and children. Almost all of our programs have to do with families, but going through them, Labatea is our transitional housing. It's a 90-day rehousing program with then 2 years of wraparound services. And this is helping youth transition from homelessness from ages 18 to 24. And we're a 25-bed facility. I think like many of our other community partners that we've heard from today, we are that open closed situation of we are of course open to anyone who needs our services, but we are not letting in guests or other people in any other capacity. So our volunteers have been way down, as well as all the traffic that goes through, but we are still open. And something I guess I should say is that all of our programs, all 13 programs that we've had, have stayed open and functioning through COVID. They have changed how they function, but all of them have continued to meet. Our Daybreak Star preschool went through quite a few metamorphoses just as we saw the different needs. Our preschool changed to a childcare facility back in April and stayed open as a summer camp, technically is what it was, over the summer. And we're back to being a preschool now. And this week we opened an additional extended learning classroom. So we have spent the summer getting an additional classroom open because we knew we were going to have to reduce the class sizes. Our foster care licensing program is vitally important, especially for our Indigenous families. So ICWA is Indian Child Welfare Act, and that is ensuring that Native children who go into the foster care system, and they go into the foster care system 4 times or at a 400% increase than their white peers, that they can stay with someone who looks like them, whose families practice their Native culture, and ideally they're placed within their tribe or with members of a neighboring tribe or somewhere in that realm so that we can ensure that their culture can still be a part of their identity. Our Ina McCaw family programming is home visiting and making sure that parents are prepared to be the first teachers of their children. Our Strong Fathers is breaking down toxic masculinity and reconnecting the sacredness of fatherhood and making sure that fathers are being that father figure and what does it mean to be a strong father. And that strongness can be in your availability to be vulnerable and to have an emotional connection. That's been a really, really big one for us lately. Our Daybreak Star doulas are just that. They are doulas and they are helping in every way as COVID has brought us a few bumps in the road. We've had a lot of different changes with that. We even had a 16-hour birth that was on FaceTime of coaching the family through this birth because the doula was not the chosen one person in the room for birth, which definitely makes sense. Native Workforce Program is making sure that we have workforce education programs for our urban Native population in Seattle. Our Native Veterans Program is our newest program, and Native Americans serve in the military at higher rates than any other population. So Native veterans make up a huge section of the veteran population, and we're learning more and more about who we have in our community, and that's been a constantly expanding piece. Homelessness prevention is preventing families from becoming homeless and making sure that all their services, whatever led them down this road to being at risk of being homeless, we won't meet there again. So that's another additional wraparound services. Our elders programs, our programs for our elders. Our emerging Native artist cohort is creating a space and curriculum to make sure that artists are paid accordingly and can make a business and a life out of being an artist rather than having that whole quote unquote starving artist aspect in their life. Our Sacred Circle Gallery is a place where it's in large connection with our emerging Native artist cohort, where we have started some of, I would say, Seattle's best known Native artists, people like Dan Friday and his sister Rain, as well as quite a few others across the nation. And we've also expanded into creating our own revenue sources, and that's our airport kiosk and Sacred Circle Gallery gift shop. And that was bringing in a lot of money that was able to be used for our unrestricted funds, and that has most definitely fallen off. But we do have online shopping. If you guys are wanting to check it out, just look at Sacred Circle Gallery gift shop, and it's online, and everything can be shipped to you for the holidays. And hop on to the next slide. So our children and families are a big piece of what we do. As I said at the beginning, we're committed to meeting the needs of our community and making sure that United Indians is shaped to serve those needs that are seen in the community and are asked for by our community. Some of our highlights, I always love our doulas program, and that has been something that has seemed to be getting a lot of traction by everyone else, and they are amazing. They're these team of nationally renowned women who are able to come and make sure that we are connecting in every way through the birth process and the education, and having time to connect with the infant, and also having time to connect with the other children who are in your family. So taking time to cook things with families and making sure that everyone's ready. I kind of touched on this a little bit, but our preschool has gone through a lot of different changes. We are back to having 2 classrooms. We are the only Native curriculum and Native taught preschool in Seattle. And Seattle is in the top 5 for urban Native populations in the country. So it kind of breaks my heart a little bit that this is the only preschool that is Native led and with a Native curriculum. So we're making sure that our students are seen, and that the curriculum that they have and the books that they read and what they're learning is based off of their family and their culture, and that cultural erasure doesn't have to happen. So making sure that they have a strong base in who they are and where they come from. And our Ina McCall On Track program has been doing our home visiting, and it addresses needs. It will do developmental screenings and will address any gaps that we find might be best addressed to make sure that children are school ready or preschool ready. And this is serving kids from infants to age 5, because as long as we can catch these different, perhaps developmental delays, or just little pieces that need catching up and a little bit more attention, then we can make sure that these kids are preschool ready and kindergarten ready, and they will not have to go into a separate education track, which can make sure that they are thriving at an earlier age. And I think we're ready for the next slide. Right, COVID, everyone's favorite topic. So like I said, all of our programs have continued to serve their clients. We have seen an uptick in our client needs and how many clients we are serving, particularly with our youth home. As a 24/7 youth home, we have been seeing more youths leaving homes that were either toxic or abusive, because that was their 24/7 surroundings, rather than having a safe space like school. Our elders program has pivoted to make sure that our elders can stay safe. So that is delivering groceries, delivering sanitizing items, as well as delivering 4 meals per week. So everything is pre-made and delivered to the elders once a week. Making sure that they don't have to go out as often, and keeping their social distance as a top priority. We have had a program of bridging the digital divide. Because we serve clients from infanthood through elderhood, we have a lot of clients who are needing additional digital access, as we've switched from a high touch to a high tech society and programming. So even to access our programming, we are needing to provide digital bridges to make sure that people have the hotspots, have the laptops, have the data plans on their phones, whatever that is, so that we can ensure safety for our staff and safety for our clients. Those pivots include that preschool changeover, and we have expanded to having 3 rooms rather than 2 rooms. We are still lower on the amount of people that we can serve, just to make sure that we can keep social distancing. But our preschool has switched to an 80% outdoor school this year. And the Wolf Room extension is that extended learning, and that is serving students who are kindergarten through 3rd grade and making sure that they have someone with them while they're in school so that their parents can work. So this is specifically focused to making sure that we have a good base in early education while ensuring that essential workers can still continue to have a job through this. And that has been a really big one for us. The favorite by far has been our traditional medicines grants, that we have been able to secure grants and keep going to provide traditional medicines for our clients and families. And people have absolutely loved this because we've been able to reconnect them with culture and heritage while ensuring that people can stay healthy. And it's full body health, it's the mental health aspect of having your culture be recognized as a way to stay healthy, and that medicines come in many different forms. And those go out approximately every week to every other week, and they include different teas and tinctures, sage and sweetgrass, and different items that are, again, like just now being scientifically proven that these things are really helpful with these different aspects of your life, but they have been traditional medicine since time immemorial. And our biggest one that we've been working on is our weekly food bags program. So since March, we have been delivering food bags to a minimum of 50 families per week. And when we started, it was kind of an auto enrollment process. We just asked every single one of our case managers, how many families are in your cases, is in your caseload, and we signed up that many. So they are, they've varied through the past 6 months, but they are provisions of dried goods and different items that have been shaped by, depending on what we have coming up in the holidays or what is seasonal, etc. And the next slide is just going through a few pictures because everybody likes pictures. So that's our elders program. It's delivery of foods per week. On the left-hand side, you see all the meals prepared. We have traditional foods, specifically are much loved by our community. So we have salmon and rice and corn was one of them. In the center, we have a drop off, and Alexa is one of our workers with the elders program, and she always dresses up for the different drop-offs to make sure that she can bring a smile to the elders as she drops it off at their homes. And those on the right-hand side is just images of meals that are already prepared for folks. And we had a great partnership with World Center Kitchen that was providing us with meals through local restaurants that normally have a large catering arm and had that aspect drop off in their lives recently. So that was a great partnership that did end. So that's been a gap that we're looking to fill. But our traditional medicines, these are just some of the images that we have of gatherings. So on the left-hand side, it's nettles, cedar, sweetgrass, sage, and a medicine bag so you can carry everything. And in the center picture is what goes out. So each of those little bags has different items in it, and they're labeled how to prepare, what this is useful for. And it's been a large process, and it's been a learning process for all of us. And it's been a really great way to reconnect, especially as urban natives, reconnecting to culture and heritage that is all around. And then on the right-hand side are little baby sage plants and masks that were made by our Native neighbors on our local reservations to make sure that the funds that we receive can go back into the community. and lift up others. And then our final slide is just our weekly food bags program. So the left-hand side is one of our earliest bags. We were just kind of figuring it out, stuffing bags. We order bulk food. I should say this also, this is very new to us other than since March, but we don't provide food for our clients. This isn't a part of our caseload. Our 24/7 youth home facility has a kitchen, and our preschool on site has 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch. So providing food for families has been something that has been a definite learning curve, but so necessary, and is keeping people safe and helping people in every way. I only do 2 food deliveries per week, and I don't have a caseload, but it's just kind of filling in and just seeing people's smiles as you drop things off and checking in on people. It's more than just the food. It's having that human contact. It's making sure that we're checking in on those needs of our community to be sure that they're saying like, oh, well, we actually ran out of diapers. So we're like, okay, you know what? Next time we can bring you diapers or wipes or whatever those necessities are for your family. In the center picture, we have our Indigenous Peoples Day bag. So those went out in celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day. We were able to secure CARES Act funding, and while we are so grateful for it, it has been a process, and it has been pieces that they're like, you know what, you have this funding, it's secure, but it's going to take approximately a month for this contract to come through. So then they're like, great, now you have all this money, now spend it all before December 30th. So that's going to be a really big fallout. Right now we're doing 250 bags per week for our community, and it will be a big transition as we go through. We are making sure that we order bulk items to continue on, but we will not be able to serve in the same way. Since we received the CARES Act funding, we've expanded beyond just our client base and have partnered with local partners, local nonprofit partners, and also just our neighbors and people in the community who live around and serve the community. So they've been able to help us get out those 250 bags per week. And we change our bags. So in the center, we really focused on Indigenous foods. We had smoked salmon, salmonberry jams or huckleberry jams, and wild rice from the Great Lakes nations. So we've been really able to invest in our communities, but also ensure that all of our clients are receiving traditional foods that they grew up with, or that are special occasion foods, because everyone has missed powwow this year. We do special little things like Easter eggs in the far right picture, and just making sure that people are still people, and they're very much seen. And in this time, I feel that most people are kind of just coasting through life, and we want to make sure that people are seen and heard and know that they have community that they can count on. And that was my presentation. It wasn't all focused on youth, but we do have so many programs that about half of them are mainly purely focused on our youth. And yeah, does anyone have questions? I'm going to pop my email in here.
Hi, what was the code again for the United Indians of all tribes?
Let me grab that real quick for you.
Thank you.
It's 9835. 9835.
Thank you.
I actually sent that privately. Let me send that to everyone. Oh, there you go. Hannah, put it in there. All right. Well, we've hit noon. If anyone has any questions you want to hang around and ask, please feel free to do so. I know we still have a couple of our presenters here still. A couple people had to run. But yeah, please feel free to hang out for a minute, ask any outstanding questions. And join us next week for our Expo on housing and employment focused nonprofits. And if you gotta go, we will see you next time. And thanks for coming.